Hi there. So tonight's video is going to be another 3-color ombre. I've got 3 colors that my customer has picked out that we are going to use. These are all from Fran's. We've got Pixie Dust, Officer 2234, and Landon. So that is what she has chosen. You can kind of see that one. It's really pretty on there. And then this one is just basically a holographic silver. Catches so many colors on there. I like how she labeled them. She had my sample box and just went to town. So I have 15 milliliters of epoxy mixed up. That is entirely too much. Way too much. But I like being able to scrape off what I don't need. And I'm also going to tinker around and see how I like with the how I like using the silicone brush. We'll see. So I'm going to do the silver to about right here, the blue to about right here, and then the chunky the rest of the way down. So that way I have a little bit more area for the decals. We're going to put Granny on it. Super cute. So we're just putting this on really thin. If you put this on too thick, it will require more glitter to cover it up because you'll get these little flat spots in it. And it just doesn't lay down as good. I personally like to make the area that has the chunky a little thicker. Some people don't do that. I personally like doing that because then whenever I go down, go back a few minutes later, about 20 minutes into it, we are going to flatten it, kind of pat it down. And I feel like having it a little bit thicker just helps. I don't know, it helps it just grip, keeps it from sticking back up later. It's like a cowlick sometimes when, I don't know if that's a southern thing. Maybe it is. A cowlick is where your hair does kind of its own thing and grows either in a swirl or opposite direction, or it parts where you don't want it to. I don't really know where that came from, but it probably has something to do with a southern problem. Who knows? So I'm just putting this on. I'm going to go a little bit thicker in a minute, but I want to just get it on and make sure I've got all my dry spots tended to first. And then I'm going to, I don't know, I'm thinking about trying out the silicone brush. I haven't ever used it for that. It came in a kit of stuff that I bought. I don't know. I'm still on the fence on it. My countertop has like a lump or something, so sometimes my turner rocks when I do this. It's really annoying. All right, just a little bit more around here. I'm not worried about spreading this area as thin because, like I said, I'm going to go back and make it a little bit thicker right there. I'm not worried about air bubbles either. It's not really going to be an issue because they're not going to be visible. In theory, you want this so thin that you really don't need to spin it. I like spinning everything I do just because probably paranoia. It'd be the one time that I didn't get it quite thin enough that it backfired on me. Plus, when I do my chunkies, I like them a little thicker, and that's not really a good thing to not spin. So I'm just going to go a little thicker now. Just a really thin add on there. And then I'll smooth that out. Right about to the point, right about there. That's where I plan on making my transition from the second fine color to this chunky. Let's just tinker with this and see how it feels. This is just a silicone brush. I know I got one of these in a kit, but I'm almost certain that I bought 3 of these for something, like a 3-pack or something. I'm trying to work on keeping my rims a little cleaner. Helps me with my cleanup. And you can just scrape off any excess right there. All right, so I've got that kind of lumping up right there where I plan on doing the chunky, and I'm okay with that. Do that, make sure there's no bare spots. That as well. Okay. So I'm gonna let this turn for a minute and just kind of level out just a bit while I throw this epoxy into a mold really quickly. Instead of letting it go to waste, I'm working on a little mold right here. Just a way to utilize your scraps, so to speak. Nice thing about silicone brushes is once it cures, epoxy does not dry, by the way, it cures. So once it cures, you can just literally flake it off. Super easy. All right, that should be nice and level now. So I'm going to take this glove off because I don't want epoxy all over my glitter bottles, and I've got a fresh sheet of paper right there. That's what I'm going to use to catch my glitter. So you want to start with the lighter color first. It's really hard to, if you do dark first and then go over it with light, it's a lot harder to hide that joining line, whatever you want to call it, the overlap line. I'm going to go nice and thick on here. Anything that falls off, we're just going to put right back in the bottle. If it falls off, it's not really getting epoxy, because if it got epoxy, it would stay. And I'm not going to go crazy pouring this on here real hard. If I was just doing one color, I'd go kind of wild with it and just dump, dump, dump and pour back. But I need to kind of control where my lines are. So right about here, I'm going to start kind of going from a little higher up, just because I don't want that super duper solid right there. Just going to go over it, over it. Every once in a while when this comes around, you might see like a flat spot or a spot that just doesn't look like it has glitter as much, and that's where it's just a teensy bit thicker in the epoxy. If you go really thick, your whole cup looks like that, and it's a little bit of a glitter zapper. It really goes to town and eats it up. I'm gonna get a little closer now and just fill in these black flat spots. Even though I got it on really thin, this is a really fine glitter. So it's just really soaking right up. If this was a little chunkier glitter, it'd probably not be quite as big of a deal. It wouldn't be nearly as noticeable. All right, so you can kind of see where the where this is kind of faded right here. We're gonna go just a little bit, just kind of a little bit more sprinkle right there, because we're gonna bring that blue up. Like I said, it's easier to do dark up over the light rather than light down over the dark. Now you want to keep this handy because we will use that again to kind of fill in and smooth out our layer. Not layer, but our blend. There's a couple different ways of doing it, but this one seems to work the best for me personally. So now I have my Officer 2234. Super sweet little tribute name. That's her husband's officer number. So I'm going to start down here. I don't want to pour a solid line right up against my silver. So I'm way down here. I'm not as concerned with making a super soft line down here because, like I said, I'm going to bring that chunky glitter up here. I'm gonna bring it up to about right there. I can kind of see where that's just soaking right in. So now I'm just gonna go up and have it kind of high up. It blends a little bit better when you do it from high up. You don't really think about your forearm muscles until you're tapping for several minutes in a row. Every once in a while it comes out a little faster than I want, but that's okay. I like to keep my Cricut spatula handy. It's probably one of the weirder tools that I would use for this, but it's very, very helpful. All right, so that's what I'm going to do there. Got my little spatula here. It's for the scrapbooking, scraping the vinyl off of the mat. That's what it's typically used for anyways. And I just kind of sprinkle some up and kind of go, it gives me a little bit of a more vertical dropping direction. That probably sounds weird, but just kind of tapping it gently and kind of watching where it falls. Ombres are so pretty, but they are definitely a labor of love. Okay, so you can see how that kind of blends pretty good right there, right in there. I'll have to go after it again. Just filling in my little blank spots here. I definitely have a few flat spots. Not blank spots, flat spots from the epoxy. It's also kind of hard to tell with this holographic, the way it hits the light. Sometimes it looks like it's got a slick, but it really doesn't. All right, and I know you can hear me shaking out that paper. It's in my she shed, so I don't have to worry about anybody having a fit that there's glitter all over the house. So I'm going to clean off my spatula. I'm just wiping it off on a used glove here in my trash bag. I'm going to scoop it out here, just straight out of the bottle. And I'm going to tap it right like that. Just kind of bringing those together. Yeah, it's pretty decent. I'm not the best at ombres, and I don't expect them to be perfect every time, but that one's pretty good. So that one has a little bit of blue and silver, so I am not pouring it back into my silver container. I actually have a little jar over here to the side that's just a hodgepodge of everything. This is what's left. I had a few little cups. I was collecting them in these little bathroom cups for a bit in different color collections, like pinks or blues, whatever. And then I used it to make a coaster one day, and it's just so pretty. That combo is just different. So I've got the blue in my hand again. I'm gonna clean off my spatula, and now I'm gonna go back over that little joined area one more time. Just very, very gently. Just kind of blending it. That's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. May not be perfect, but I'm not either, so that's all right. It's not that I don't care, it's just that it's all right. I have realistic expectations. So I've got that little bit of blue in there. So I'm going to pour that in my scrap bottle. Alright, so normally most tutorials would tell you to let this sit for a little bit while before adding your chunky. It's actually already been sitting for 17-ish minutes. That's when we started, but that's not necessarily exactly how long it's been on here. So I am just going to go ahead and do this. And this I don't have to be as frugal with because it's going to be a little ways before I meet up with the top part. There's a little glitter hair right there. It's huge. Under epoxy that wouldn't be that visible, I don't think, but yeah, got it. It's just where the glitter doesn't cut apart completely. This particular color is called Landon. It's so cute. It's blue with like a mint and purple color shift iridescence. I like that some of her best colors have a story behind them. This one's actually the name of one of her kiddos. I'm not just dumping it here, I'm tapping it. I ended up off camera, sorry. Just gonna eyeball it as it comes. Ah! That is not what I meant to do. I just wanted to, I had a couple of spots that looked really, really flat, so it had soaked right in. So luckily, that was about as much as it could take anyways. So now this is probably the weirdest way to do the bottoms. I just kind of sling it on there like I'm pitching hay or something. Again, I'm country. It's okay. I've embraced it pretty good. I thought about changing the name of my tumbler business to Twisted Chicken Tumblers because I literally had some twisted chickens. I had one of them, the bottom jaw, the bottom beak went outward, so she had a little tough time eating. But we gave her 4 months longer to live than what she would have had just living at the feed store in the little chick hospital. So that was kind of sweet little addition to our memories there. Just kind of getting an idea what that looks like coverage wise. I've got a spot that I missed right there. Okay, so that is good there, but I am seeing some slicker spots here that I need to address. I think I'm going to do that with the silver, because I definitely have a little bit more blue than I intended to have, but it's not the end of the world. So I'm just pouring this back into my jar over here. I love that about having shaker bottles. It's so much easier to handle. All of my lids, I've done a little drop of epoxy on it and then just added some glitter. There we go. And just let it stick on there. I've actually started numbering them now because I have so many glitters that I can't keep up with the names anymore. I don't have more than some, but I have more than I thought I'd ever have. Thanks a lot, Fran. That's what happens when she has some really great colors. I apologize if y'all catch me hiccuping. Luckily, I don't sound like I'm hee-hawing right now, but I definitely have been hiccuping this whole time. It's kind of frustrating. Somebody told me today that in their culture, it means someone's trying to remember you. I think that's pretty sweet. But I've never heard that before. It's quite inconvenient to be hiccuping right in the middle of trying to talk, though. I talk all day in my day job. I work in a eye care office, and sometimes having the hiccups is quite inconvenient. Okay, so I'm not gonna bother trying to clean this tiny little bit off. I'll dump it in my scrap bottle in just a minute, but I do want to do a little bit of blue right on top. Just kind of smooth that out. Really, really lightly tapping from pretty far away. Yeah, okay, so we're gonna let this turn for, I don't know, probably another 15 minutes or so. Then I'm gonna go back with a glove, pop, 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 tap, 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 right over it. And that'll help lay this down. It's actually laid down pretty good so far. And I feel like that's because I have such a thicker layer, not such a thicker layer, but a thicker layer here than I do up here. I just feel like it works really well for the chunky to do that. So we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. We're gonna let this turn for just a few. All right, so this has been turning for a little bit. So I've got my gloves on. About to actually start another tutorial, so I already have ink on the others, or on these gloves. So we're just gonna gently, gently, gently pat that down. I try and give a little bit more attention to my rim and my base, because those are the hardest parts of the whole cup, of any cup in my experience. Those are the hardest areas to get smooth. You gotta really sand the fire out of those things. Got one random piece of chunky glitter that I'm gonna have to get out. After this is cured, I'm gonna have to pop it out with my, either with a needle or a toothpick or a weeding tool, something. It's not the end of the world, but it's an inconvenience for sure. I don't want it there because I don't know exact placement of my vinyl yet to know if that's going to be hidden or not. So that's it. I'm just kind of eyeballing it to see if I see any more spots that need to be patted down. And then just kind of getting them as I go. Right there, right there. Just a little bit. I'm not pushing hard, I'm just pushing enough to lay it down. If I was pushing really hard, I'd have a lot more bare spots and a lot of glitter movement. But I really only have that much stuck to my hand. It's pretty good. So that's it. That's another 3-color ombre. Most cups wouldn't necessarily have all 3. Some people do a fine, and then a chunky band, which is pretty stinking cute if you ask me. But this is what she wanted, so this is what she gets. And that's it. That's it for this tutorial. If you have any comments or questions, don't hesitate to leave it in there. Once again, this is Fran's Pixie Dust on top. And then we have Officer 2234 next. Landon. The epoxy I use right now is Envirotex Light. It's just from Michael's. So I bounced between Alumilite in the very beginning, Pro Marine. I just ordered that off of eBay. And then this Envirotex. I like when I can get it for about 50 bucks for a gallon kit. Half gallon of each part of the mixture. So if you like my videos, please subscribe. I'm working on just uploading a little bit of everything as I go. I'm filling my last minute Christmas orders right now, so I'm kind of getting a variety of stuff to be able to post. Ah, that's blurry. Brr. I'm sorry. So that's it. Have a good one.